Here are the instructions for our Unit 6 Culminating Activity. The idea of this Culminating Activity is to try and replicate you doing questions in the classroom on the whiteboards. I get tons of information just listening to you talk to each other about doing a math question up on the whiteboards, and we're going to try and replicate that as best we can. So you're going to be answering questions live with me and be expected to verbally communicate your math steps that you used and why you're using them. So what type of questions are going to ask you? Well, they're all going to come from the review type questions. So in this post, you'll see a review, just like if you were reviewing for a test, okay, with a bunch of questions. And then, of course, I would test you on different ones. But what I'm going to do is you're going to have to do a minimum of 2 questions. One is going to be a calculation question, and the other is going to be a word problem. The calculation question will be like the ones from number 1, where I'm going to give you a different, not this one, but a different pair of vectors, and you'll have to add them together or subtract them or do the dot product and cross product. Dot product and cross product are from this week. Then your second question will be a word problem, where it'll come from these standard questions, these classic questions that I've been asking, like the plane question, or the chandelier being suspended by 2 cables, or a planter, or the box on a ramp question, or these are your dot product and cross product ones from this week. Okay, so your second question won't be one of these, but it'll be like one of these type of questions. So how are we going to do this? Well, the option 1 and the one I'm hoping that most of you will do, we'll do this with a Google Meet. That way I can sit there and ask you questions and help you go through the problem. I'll even give you some of the calculations if I see you're doing things right. So if I see you've done the cosine law right, I'll tell you, here's the answer to that. Move on and do the next thing. It'll speed it up and allow us to go through this really quickly. Conversation back and forth will be the best way for me to see if you're understanding how to do these questions, and I'll be able to help you if you had any troubles. I'm only hoping that this will take about 15 minutes. 5 minutes to do the calculations, 10 minutes to do the calculation question, and 10 minutes to do the word problem. Now, I understand Google Meet's not an option for everybody because of technical issues or whatnot. So another option would be for you to schedule a time where you would videotape yourself answering the question. What I would do is I would give you the question and give you 15 minutes where I would expect to see an answer back, okay, whether you email the answer or not. I know you can't videotape the whole thing in 15 minutes and upload it and everything like that, but I want to at least have an idea that you've got an answer, and then you can upload your videos and whatnot afterwards. So options you can have something like this where you're watching me do a question on a whiteboard, and you could sit there and do the question on your whiteboard, have someone else film it for you, and then I can see your thoughts and so forth there. Or you can just take your answer that you have on the phone and just explain your steps and your math as you're going on there. Here's your full solution. Here's what I did. I used this. I used the cosine of 60. I got the 60 from that angle. Okay? Or maybe you'll use an app. Some of you might have an app on your phones where you can go off and do the calculations. You can actually write on a blank screen. You might have it on an iPad and draw your answers out this way. Okay? Or you might set up like a Google slideshow like I have here, where you actually go off and maybe write out your answer like this, and then go off and say, I use the cosine law to do it. But all of these options, I think, are going to take a lot of time. And by you just explaining it to nobody, then there's no feedback back and forth. And if you're stuck, I can't really help you. So it is an option if you would prefer to do a video, but I would rather us try and do a Google Meet. But if that doesn't work, if neither of those work, option 3 would be during a scheduled time, you would answer the question just on a piece of paper with me on the phone. So you could tell me what you're doing. I, again, could help you through the question. You would just be writing out the answers there. And at the end of our conversation, I'll have a pretty good idea where you're at. And then you would just scan the work and send it in to me afterwards. Okay? So, but all of these, I'm really hoping to stick to that 15-minute time frame just for you to see how you're doing and be able to answer the question. How are you going to be assessed? Well, I'm going to give you a level. I'm not going to give you a grade or mark you and see how you did, like 5 out of 5. You're going to get a level. And it's going to be using a rubric that's very similar to the one we used for the video assignment last semester. So sure, there'll be some spots where to see, did you get the question right? But if you're doing it with me, I'll be able to know you're going to get the question right. Did you have some thinking, and is there evidence that you were thinking yourself through the problem? But mostly I'm going to be looking for your communication. Did you communicate your thinking, and you're justifying why you're using the certain rules? And then did you use the right terminology and so forth? Everyone's going to get their own rubric regardless if they do it in a group. So if you're doing it in a large group of 3 or 4, you better make sure that you're speaking up so I can hear what you're doing. Speaking of the size of the group, if you're going to do it by yourself, you're just going to do 2 questions, a calculation and a word problem. Even if you do it with a partner, you and a partner, 2 questions. But as you increase the number of people, you're going to increase the number of questions. The reason I'm going to do that is so that there's an opportunity for everybody in the group to contribute. So if there's a group of 4 or 5, you're going to be doing 4 or 5 questions to make sure that that's there. So I'd like you to sign up for a time, and you're going to see this Google Doc here for a time on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Not some of the places are blocked out because I already have things planned with other students. You'll notice that the time slots are half-an-hour intervals, but I really only want to spend about 15 minutes doing the activity. This will give me some time to wrap up our stuff and to assess you right away and fill out the rubric right away. Okay, so it's going to be a 15-minute time starting at the beginning of the time slot, but you're just going to pick up and sign up for a half-hour one. Put your names here and then option 1, 2, or 3 in this column. So I really hope that you see this as a viable alternative to writing a test. I think I get so much information having a conversation with you that I'm really looking forward to speaking to you about it. Okay, you can use a review as a way to prepare for this, but if you've been preparing throughout the unit and you've done a couple of practice questions, I think you'll be well prepared for our little culminating activity. Looking forward to seeing you soon. Take care.